But we'll go ahead and just start with some introductions. I'm actually going to turn it over to Tim to introduce himself first, and then I will introduce myself. So, good morning, Tim.
Hello, good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are. My name is Tim Fry, and I serve as the Dean for the College of Education at Doane University, which is a private liberal arts college out in Crete, Nebraska, and Lincoln, Nebraska area. And I will just say out loud, I'm a formal special education teacher and yeah, middle school special education, and also a faculty member at Doane.
Tim, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure working with you on this project. I am Christy Jackson. I'm a senior learning strategist with BloomBoard. And like Tim, I come to this role as a very proud educator myself. I was a K-3 teacher for about 20 years, a K-8 building administrator, and a district level administrator, where we actually implemented BloomBoard pathways in my district for about 4 years before I came to join BloomBoard today. So we're going to go ahead and just talk a little bit about some things that I have a feeling most of you on the that are listening in are going to just shake your head. I will tell you, when I started this work over a decade ago with BloomBoard, it was because of this, right? We know this is a huge challenge that we have, not only recruitment, but retention of our educators. As teachers ourselves, Tim and I both are aware of these things. What the reason I share this slide is not because I think you're unaware. I think this is something we live and breathe every day, but is because it's not getting a lot better, right? And I think that's part of a lot of the things that we have tried. We know we still have critical shortages, especially in the areas of high need like special education. And I think, a lot of the ways that we've thought about solving some of these things about recruiting people into our profession and being able to keep them there have been very well intended, and some of them have an impact. But as an overall profession, trying to consider who's coming into our profession and how we are keeping them and supporting them, we know for sure not having qualified teachers in every classroom just exasperates this, right? It makes it worse and worse as we try to do those things. And so it's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about the work that we do at BloomBoard and the work that our university partners and our district partners are doing, because we're really trying to think about addressing this in a slightly different way by building on the capacity that we have in our organizations. So obviously a part of that is preparing amazingly strong teachers. And I know, Tim, this slide makes me think about when I started my teacher preparation, probably when you did too. There were a lot of us going out of high school into college, considering moving into the education profession. There were hundreds of people at my university working towards becoming educators. It's changed in the decades since I've been there. Talk to me a little bit about what you all are seeing in the higher ed space as well.
Yeah, I think, Christy, these are very accurate statistics overall. We definitely have continued to see less interest, and also at the same time, more teachers who are currently teaching stepping out at the same time, which sort of compounds some of these challenges. Honestly, I think things are starting to turn around. Programs like BloomBoard and new strategies are helping make that shift. But certainly far fewer students choosing education career pathways than we would like to see to meet the demand.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot, and probably some of our education leaders on the call here as well. There's a lot of factors to that. I'm a mom of a freshman son in college. He's going into his sophomore year. We made it through the first year, hallelujah. But as I talk to some of our young adults in the community, part of that is that I think students, and at college age, are thinking differently about professions, right? They're wanting to know, if I go into this job, what is the next step, right? If I become an education support professional, if I become a teacher, what does that journey look like, right? How are you supporting me in that? Because probably in a good reason, a lot of the new generation wants to know how we're sort of supporting them and walking them through a full path in that. And then also we just know, the impact of the world in general, can I do this in a way that I can make enough money without too much debt to actually be able to do this profession that I would love? And so, part of that is what really has led us to do the work that we do here at BloomBoard, which we could not do without our amazing university partners. But just to give everyone a little bit of an overview who's listening in today of, really what we do at BloomBoard, I think can be narrowed down to kind of three big things. The first thing is we get to work with amazing university partners like Doane, who are interested in thinking differently and innovating about how we bring in and support educators and future educators for our profession. And so a lot of that work is taking amazing education preparation programs and degrees and making a version of that that is job embedded, that can be done in a different way than maybe what we have thought of in the past. Then the other tier of that we do is we are able to then work with districts and candidates across the nation to bring students into those job embedded a type of university programs and to support them as they earn their degrees while working full time still in their school districts. And then obviously, I know all of you on the call are already thinking that sounds great. How are we going to pay for this, right? We know that that's also compounding the challenge is how do we support that in a way that's sustainable in funding? And so the third thing that we really work on as BloomBoard is once we get those programs established and we have those district partners and students is how do we make this the least expensive for students and very sustainable and the least expensive in investment on the district side. And I can tell you, we've done a lot of work on this over the last few years. And I love the statistic that we're able to share here that, 80% of our students who have graduated, and we have had hundreds of students graduate at this point, have been able to complete their bachelor's degree without any out-of-pocket costs for them as well, and very low district costs. So, Tim, just talk to me a little bit about what that, initial conversation with us at BloomBoard, knowing that that's the work that we do. Why was that something that was interesting to you all at Doane as a university partner with us?
I think, Christy, that one of the things that we were really looking for is right as we saw the demographics changing and changing interests, like we talked about a moment ago. Doane wants to be on the cutting edge, and we know we have a strong history and a strong preparation program. Doane is nationally accredited by CAPE, and we have high standards for candidates. And at the same time, we see more and more people pursuing teaching career in non-traditional pathways. And Doane has a non-traditional program as well, but we wanted to elevate that. And to do that, we needed a partnership with a person or a company like BloomBoard that helps us balance all the things we need to customize our model for different participants and different students, while at the same time helping to make it as affordable as we can. One of the things that people have a misconception about, private colleges is how expensive it is, but this program is designed to meet the needs of the students, and BloomBoard makes it possible for us to do that. We also really want to support our district partners, right? They have demand for certain areas, and districts are asking us more and more. I get emails every day about, can I fill this position, or what students do we have coming through? And so we know we have capacity and quality, and we want to be able to share that with more and more folks.
Yeah, Tim, I really love how you highlighted, the goal with BloomBoard and our university partners is not to, create an amazing program when one doesn't exist. Actually, what we look for is universities who are doing a phenomenal job of servicing their students, who have really strong programs, and see that there's an area of need that maybe they're not able to serve in that capacity. And a lot of times that those students who may not be a traditional college preparation student will need support to be able to be successful in that. And so, just like we would do, you talked about being a special education teacher. I was a K-3 reading interventionist. We know there is no way to best serve a student in our K-12 system, right, without fully wrapping around as a community of support for that learner. And that's what this allows us to do with our students in these programs. And, this isn't going to be surprising to anyone, but as we talk to our paraprofessionals, education support professionals in our buildings, we find that many of them, over half of them would love to be a certified teacher, but there were just barriers along the way that did not allow them to go into that. Some of them have full bachelor's degrees from other professions, right? And they're going through alt-cert programs, but many of them don't, right? They started college. They might have some classes, or they went into another profession and realized that they had a passion for working with students in our community. But life had already happened. It's very hard to go back to school and quit your job for student teaching or to work multiple jobs and attend classes at night. Most of our amazing adult learners that we want with students, because we know they've demonstrated that they're from our communities. They already know our students. They're in our classrooms. They're showing up for kids every day. They're working with their colleagues. They also have families and they have kids, and they might work a second job. So being able to attend that traditional schedule makes it really, really hard for them. And so being able to lean into those folks in our districts that we know, I know me as a teacher, and I know you as a special education teacher, probably could never have done our jobs without those amazing support professionals. But being able to find a way to remove those barriers of the high cost and then just the time demands of going back to school in a rigorous program, right? This is not something I will say, in my state, I think in all of our states, we always struggle with the balance of removing barriers to get certified teachers, but also to want to keep those amazing high expectations for teachers in every classroom. And so how do we remove those barriers and keep a program rigorous, but also allow students to be able to engage in that? And so by doing that with this Lure model, you can see that not only are we able to leverage those amazing professionals that are supporting our schools already, but we're also able to do that in a way that removes some of those barriers. So this unique learning model, we talked about this a little bit. I mostly put this here so when you review these slides, you can take a look at it if you want to dig more deeply into it. I'm a curriculum and instruction person on the side of the world. And so I want to know, how are they learning and what does that look like? And so, these, our programs are taught by amazing, certified professional educators at our university. Tim can talk to the faculty and the expertise that they have. But we organize this program in a way that is more flexibly paced for learners. So they are submitting artifacts of their classroom practice instead of writing a paper. They're submitting, a short video or uploading a student work sample and talking about where their strengths and their opportunities for growth are. And all of those assignments are totally embedded in the work that they are doing in schools already, allowing them to really engage in a way that not only, raises those expertise, but also makes it pretty affordable. And so I thought it would be helpful. Tim and I can talk about this all day long, but I thought it might be actually helpful for us to share with you some reflections from our candidates themselves that are in our programs. And so I'm going to start by sharing Elizabeth's video. Elizabeth is one of our education professionals who graduated already and is teaching in a building. She completed her bachelor's degree.
I am Elizabeth Frostick. I am a TA in District 65 at Shute Middle School. My mom was a teacher in District 65 when I was growing up. She was a reading specialist and kindergarten teacher. And then my brother and I went through District 65. My kids went through District 65. And now here I am in District 65. I went to University of Iowa. I was a physical therapy major. I came back to Evanston and went to Oakton for a year because I struggled very much in college, was diagnosed with ADHD and excelled. I went to DePaul for a year and then got pregnant with my oldest child. He's 22 now. So that is sort of where my schooling stopped. In the meantime, I had 3 kids. I got divorced and I was single momming the heck out of things. And I did go back and get my associates at Robert Morris. A friend of mine who's still a teacher here said, "Hey, Liz, we need a para at Shute." My son was about to be a 6th grader here. And I said, "Sign me up. What do I have to do?" Hands down think it's the best model. It seems crazy to me to ask young people to go in and read textbooks about theoretical teaching situations when they have not spent a day with kids. You don't know that this career is not for you until you have been here. And I just think that for us, we know that we can handle classroom. Like, we can be in a classroom, we know how to talk to the students, we know how to make connections with the students. We need, the information about how to build a lesson plan, and then we get that online at our pace, and then can turn to people that we already know, like friends of ours, our co-teachers. This opportunity changed everything. I will be able to pay my bills and feed my children and have real insurance and things because of this. So without this, I don't know what my future would hold. I'd be back to waitressing or, being a para or whatever. But this opportunity is hands down the most life-changing experience I've been given. So I'm very grateful.
So I share Elizabeth's story because Elizabeth participated in one of our job embedded programs, but you can see a lot of things are highlighted in her video. One of them being that she's a graduate from her schools. Her mom taught there, right? She is a community member, and so when we talk about servicing and diversifying our profession and having the opportunity to engage with our community, Elizabeth is that person, right? She's who's in your building that is going to be able to engage with your students in a way that's unlike someone who's coming in new into your community. She also highlights some of the things that I think are so powerful about this, being able to connect with educators that are in your building already and being able to, to know that this profession is for you and being able to step into that. So I have one more student story. There are a couple of them listed on the slide for you, but I also wanted to share with you Tanya's story. She's one of our recent graduates as well, and she just talks about the availability of this program to really meet her needs.
I had been a parapro now for 11 years within Brown County Educational Service Center, where I'm still currently at, and began the journey. And because I could work and do my job at the same time, start my pathway. So that was the start of the journey. Very scared, of course, being, I'll be 50 years old and thinking, I can't do that. That's college work. I did that back, associate's degree in 95. Yes, cool. I was young, to opening up a laptop and going, I don't know how to even know how to navigate the system called BloomBoard, to today looking at that, which I haven't even opened it up because I'm done. May the 4th is not even here, and I completed all my artifacts. Didn't even know what a word artifact meant, to be honest, when I started, to now graduating next week.
Excellent. So that's one of the things that I think has been so powerful for us, is seeing our educators be able to step into that journey wherever they're at. And so as you heard, some of our educators talk about, BloomBoard does service those educators in different points of their journey and their profession. But we know that the biggest need, and probably while you're here right now, is in those really hard to fill areas. And most of our educators, like Elizabeth and like Tammy, you've heard that they are working in schools. They started towards education and then just didn't have that opportunity to continue, but are committed to those students in those special education classes. They're in your buildings. They know how you do school there. And so creating this Bachelor's of Arts in education for them in a way that they could move into that teaching role is really a powerful thing for them. So Tim, I'll let you just talk a little bit about this. We can go back and forth a little bit about the program, but talk to us about how you view that program and how it'll meet students' needs.
Yeah, we're really excited at Doane Christie about this opportunity to work with BloomBoard, and we love the paraprofessional path, right, to that. Doane has a long history of having lots of field experiences for all our students, but having somebody be in a job embedded, right, responsive. When we named this program, right, we're thinking about how can we create innovative ways to engage future educators in different places. So it could start with one class as a paraprofessional, right, to try it out, and all the way through a full 123 credit hour bachelor's degree. One of the things we built in purposefully was, if these folks are job embedded, to make sure that we're giving them credit and honoring their job experience that they're getting. So there's a full 24 credits as you go through 3 years potentially of the program that are cost free, that give people and sort of honor their service, right, to the profession and the skills that they're getting by being on the job, not just taking classes and creating artifacts, but really learning the skills and applying them in classrooms.
That's right. Yeah. One of the things that I have found to be so powerful and have heard from participants is that, our program does not expect for them to work with a certain curriculum that's different than what they're using in their district, or to, do IEPs or write lesson plans in a different way, because we know, at least I can speak for myself, one of the hardest parts of your first few years of being a certified teacher, doing that role as, the main educator in a classroom, is not just learning your job for the first few years, but also learning all of the other things that go with it, right? And so being able to take educators that are in buildings already, that know how we do school where we're at, right? They know the systems. And that allows them in that professionalism to be able to, in their courses, be in that job embedded way, to lean into the parts that are brand new to them, because there will be sections that are new, right? They have not held that full role, but they can also be recognized and, move more quickly through the sections that they've had the opportunity through those job experiences to really master and be able to demonstrate competency. So as adult learners, it really was important for me that we honor the fact that you may not be a certified teacher, but as you heard from Elizabeth and from Tanya, they both have been in schools doing work with students for decades, right? So having the opportunity for them to really learn the areas that they need, and to do that in a way that when they graduate, they will already know, since they're hired into their buildings or in their school districts, hopefully, that's their goal, right? Is creating a pipeline that they have that experience already. So one of the things I really want to highlight about Doane is that, Doane as a university is so inclusive of students. You can see that candidates can come in with 0 credits, so they only graduated from high school and above that, right? So the process, if you have a learner in your building that you're interested in putting into the program, how that would work is we would go through the application process. They would submit their transcripts, and Doane would review their transcripts and give them credit for wherever they fall within that, 0 up to the full credit hours of the degree. And that way they can start wherever they're at. And so that's why you see that variation in, that 2 to 4 years in this program, because educators are going to get those, those credits for doing the job that they are, those life credits. And they're also going to get credit for as many of those courses that they may have taken along the way. We know a lot of people have, earned 12 or even up to 60 credits or more working towards their degree and just not quite gotten there yet. So I love that. So that opportunity to do that. And, Tim, you mentioned a little bit about the opportunity to sort of support those para educators or support professionals as they come into this. So again, just highlighting Doane's amazing ability to be responsive to students and districts and what they need. There is an opportunity if maybe you have a newer paraprofessional. A lot of our districts are being able to capture their high school students before they leave, right? If they're in your high school and that they might be going to college, how amazing would it be? I tell you, as a mom of a college kid, I can tell you how amazing it would be to hear that, a student in your community, like Elizabeth, right, who went away to school, if she had heard that she could stay in her community, she could get a job making a salary, right, and working with students the way that she had wanted to, while also learning the skills to be a paraprofessional and having the opportunity to move into a degree program where she would not only get paid, but also have her tuition supported as she went along, and then be able to stay there as an educator and see that journey. That would be just phenomenal. But I also know, as a district leader, I don't know if I would be guaranteed that those kids are ready to hop into a full degree. They might need to prove themselves or at least learn some additional skills, right? So there is an opportunity in this program that's unique, where we can have your educators come in and start with some really amazing methods courses that are designed for parent educators. So allowing them to build those skill sets, build the understanding of how to collaborate with other adults, right? How to support instructional strategies, how to work with students who might be coming in with IEPs or established, plans. So increasing that opportunity for them to be strong in those instructional roles as a paraprofessional, and then you be able to decide if that then is a great thing for them to go ahead and move in. And Tim, talk about how those classes can fit into your degree structure. So if a district wanted to start someone here, what would that maybe look like if they want to go forward?
Yeah, as we work to build out this program, these classes are intended to be very early in a bachelor's degree or an opportunity for paraprofessionals who are currently or thinking about even becoming a paraprofessional to really step into the education field, experience what this kind of college coursework would be like, and then count those credits towards their future bachelor's degree, or whichever degree they might want to. Again, Doane is fully accredited and CAPE accredited, so credits will also have opportunities for students to move. These could be non-degree classes to start before someone's willing to make a commitment even, and then move into a degree pathway as they get comfortable.
Yeah, you highlighted something really important that I wanted to mention too. So I've actually talked to a lot of districts, and I will speak from my district. One of the areas that we struggled in, I was a director of professional learning for a while, is always finding actually really relevant and, kind of powerful opportunities for our paraprofessionals that were equitable to the type of experiences we were able to provide to our certified faculty and our students. And so having the opportunity for in our districts, a lot of them are considering this as an opportunity for really amazing professional learning. And then also for, as you said, for those educators in their buildings to decide maybe this type of learning is for me. And if not, this is phenomenal professional learning. There is no loss there for them. And it's something that some of our districts are even using as sort of a train the trainer model where they're having a paraprofessional go through with a mentor teacher, which is a part of our program. That if you support someone, you'll have that version of like a cooperating teacher, but a mentor that's with them through the entirety of their program, since their student teaching is sort of spread throughout that time. So having a cooperating teacher and a paraprofessional who are amazing partners in your district go through this experience. And then some of our districts are planning to then use them as internal train the trainers to support other cooperating teachers and their paraprofessionals. So lots of ways to kind of build skills to this. So if you are as a district, are not quite sure yet about moving into the full bachelor's, but you would love some amazing professional learning that are also credentials of value. As Tim mentioned, these are accredited classes that they can use in any way. That also might build that pipeline for you in a way that's not going to lose anything, just build amazing paraprofessionals. This is a great way to start that program. Something else that is unique about this Doane program that I love is that our bachelor students actually are going to graduate with 9 credit hours at the graduate level, the way this is laid out. And so that is something that's just embedded that will be carried on. We also have something that you can layer on as separate from the bachelor's degree, because Doane does service students at all those different levels, is if you are interested outside of the bachelor's degree and you're looking at the need that we all are in supporting AI for educators, there's also a separate graduate program that is 9 graduate hours. If you are thinking of sort of that train the trainer type model, or are looking to how you build capacity and how we can support our already certified teachers in understanding AI, not only for their own efficiency and just time management and appropriate use as a teacher, but also how they support their students in it. That idea of having a classroom centric AI usage that will really improve learning, not just have students, copying and pasting and dropping into something, is something where it's here, right? We're going to have to address it. I know that, Tim, I'm hearing it everywhere. What was sort of important to you all? Because this is not just something they can do at the graduate level, but this type of learning is also embedded in the bachelor's degree, right? So our students who graduate for our special education degree are also going to have embedded in their program this understanding of AI. So talk to us about that, why is important for you.
Yeah, Christy, we really want to be on the cutting edge, and AI is right. You can't go to a conference or practically walk into a school without hearing something about AI right now. These classes have been at Doane and are adding to the BloomBoard platform in ways that we think are really going to enhance our future teachers' ability to use technology effectively and to help support their students, right, using this technology. It's not going away as far as I can tell, right? So there are so many things about ethics of LLMs and AI and then all the pieces. That's why it's full 3 classes worth of information and practice. And these courses, just like AI, continue to evolve. and grow, right? Each semester we have
Yes.
practicing teachers who are sharing and being the instructors for these courses that are really using and learning how not to use too, honestly, sometimes, right? We're all growing and learning together in these classroom spaces. And so we are really excited to have this piece be part of the Doane Teacher Education Program, not just for these students, but for all of our students and teachers.
That's right. Yeah, I think that's one of the things that's been so powerful in our conversations with you all at Doane is your ability to sort of see exactly what's really happening in schools. I think sometimes that's where we lose learners, right? We lose, especially adults who are like, I'm doing the reality of what teaching looks like every day, and then I go to this class that seems disconnected from the reality in our buildings every day. And I think, your ability to not only, think about how we can support already practicing educators, but embedding this into that bachelor's degree for our teachers who are looking to become special education teachers is really a testament to the type of thought work that happens at Doane. I was actually talking with a lot of friends who are special education teachers practicing still, and things come up constantly that they're talking about, like, did you know you can drop some student test scores or test results into AI, and you can get some really great next steps. And then other people saying, well, wait, can you do that with Ferber? Can you just drop something in there? Like, what are the rules with that? And well, I use it to do my plans this way, or I use it to share with my cooperating teacher. Well, can you do that? And how do you know what's reliable? What one do you use? So, our teachers, as you mentioned, Tim, they're using it, right? It's there. Students are using it. Teachers are using it. And so there are opportunities here where we can, consider some of those ethical and privacy considerations. And also, what are the ways we know, there's a lot of time and effort that goes into really well educating our special education students. So if there are ways that teachers can use it to be more efficient so that they can really focus on the things that they need to, we want to be able to provide that opportunity for them. So lots of angles there to consider for that. Well, I know a lot of our folks on the call today are district leaders. And so, Tim, I think you've done a great job of sort of highlighting the benefits for learners in this program, being able to be job embedded, having the opportunity to, really engage in real learning that's happening and being, really inclusive of what they've done already as educators to be able to come out as certified special education teachers and even have a few graduate hours to go help moving along their salary schedules. But it's always helpful to hear from, some of our leaders who have done this with us. And so I have a couple of leaders that I would love to share with you. First, we're going to hear from Gabe. Gabe is talking about, he and I are very well aligned in that, as people who have been educators ourselves for a really long time, we understand the challenges of going through the learning of this. And so he's going to talk to us a little bit about what that learning experience has been like for him. We also know that, at least for me, my district, we were very small at the district leadership, right? There were not a lot of us. And bringing in a program like this, even though it sounds amazing, one of my first concerns were like, how am I going to manage all of this, right? I already have 50 hours or more that I need to do with the current projects that I have. And I don't know that I can figure out how to manage and do all of the processes for this. And so that's something we very much understand at BloomBoard. And so Dr. Molesky from our Waukegan Public Schools is going to talk a little bit about the support for that. And then at the end, we're going to talk to Jeff from one of our New Jersey districts, who's going to talk about the fact of how to try to support this in funding, right? Because we also know it doesn't matter how great it is, how much support there is, if we can't pay for it, or if our students can't afford it, it doesn't matter, right? So I'm going to stop sharing for a second. We'll listen to those, and then that should give us a little bit of time to talk about any questions that anyone has. So let me go ahead and share my screen here.
For our audience who doesn't know what BloomBoard is, we had this unique opportunity to work with a company who partners with different colleges, and it allows paraprofessionals to go back to school to get their teaching certification. And through the program, they don't have to stop their career to do student teaching. And if you don't know what education is like and getting a teaching certificate, there is months where you stop, go unpaid, and you do your student teaching, come back in, and you get your certificate, and you go to work. It's very difficult. Clearly, it would be difficult for especially adults. And this program that we've been able to offer has allowed our paraprofessionals to start your student teaching in the classroom every day, building out a portfolio-based education that's hands-on with the students and completing the student teaching while you're actually doing the work during the day, maintaining your income, and at the end, getting your teaching certification.
All right. And then let's hear from.
I don't think you can put there's not a good or bad cost when you're talking about putting quality people in front of kids, and so it doesn't, for that part, it's we're gonna invest no matter what we need to do. But I think to make sure we have the best quality teachers in front of our students. But I think the opportunity to partner with BloomBoard really has just, it's just a package deal, and right. So there's a lot that has to happen on our end to identify the right paras, identify the right mentor teachers, make sure they have the right supports put in place. But BloomBoard does so much of the progress monitoring and support behind the scenes that it makes it exciting to see the progress. And it's not like I'm not having to babysit and manage a bunch of paperwork or checking course completion and things like that. BloomBoard does so much of the background progress monitoring and a lot of communication structures that make my lift much more doable for the administrative end. In terms of the investment for recruitment, we do invest in recruitment efforts. We do recruit, internationally for bilingual Spanish-speaking teachers. So we have invested a lot in recruitment. But on the flip side, and I don't think we'll ever stop our recruitment efforts because we're always going to need different kinds of teachers with different kinds of skill sets. But being able to turn around and look to your right and left in the classrooms and down the hallways within our schools and know that we have untapped resources right in front of us, I think has really kind of helped us see recruitment efforts not only as going out to job fairs or going out to different trips to go recruit people and bring them back.
All right.
Student's case between financial aid, between the grants, between all the things that the support team was able to do, we were planning on doing a salary deduction to make up the difference between what we thought we might need for tuition. And BloomBoard was able to work it all out so that we're not even doing a salary deduction. Everything is taken care of, and she's, making $40,000 a year, and inclusive of healthcare and pension and everything else.
Excellent. All right. So I would love to highlight, something that Mandy said, and then we'll open it up for questions. But one of the things she highlighted is that, we're not saying that you won't be recruiting, right? We'd love to say that you're going to fill all of your positions with your paraeducators. And that's definitely our goal to help support that. But we know that some students, may still want that traditional model. You're hopefully going to have that. That's why, Doane, you hear talk about, our university partners have multiple pathways. But, our goal is really to help you meet those needs of those students who would not have an opportunity otherwise to go back, right? So I think, when we talk to our university partners, we're not pulling students from other programs or from either other universities down the road from you. Students who can attend those programs are going to, right? This is an untapped group of educators that they would not be able to go to school in another way, right? So they're not going to sign up for a traditional model. They're not going to go in even a traditional online program because those barriers are not able to be removed. And you're still going to have those folks. We have those folks now, right? The ones that are able to do it. So this is opening up a new door and a new pool of educators that will be able to come in and hopefully fill some of those positions. And especially in our special education departments, those banks of paraprofessionals that you have that make that day happen for your teachers and your students every day. This gives us an opportunity to elevate them into those roles where we need them so much and hopefully attract others into those roles that wouldn't be coming into education otherwise because of some of those barriers, because those barriers are removed for them in that journey as well. And so I do have just a final slide before we open it up for anything else with our questions. that I just wanted to share. I know that you might wonder if you do have additional questions or would like to reach out to learn a little bit more about the program and see if it is a good fit for you. We know that Doane is located in Nebraska, but as you heard Tim say earlier, this program is applicable to almost all of our states that are across the nation. Definitely those of you who are on the call, you're here because this is a program that will work with your certification guidelines and in your districts and state. So if you do have additional questions or you want to talk a little bit more, you can reach out to us at BloomBoard at hello@bloomboard.com. And again, we'll also share this recording and the slides out with you afterwards as well. So Tim, any last things you wanted to say before we open it up for questions?
No, thanks, Christy. Really appreciate everyone who's attended and would love to get to visit with people who think this is a good fit for them. We're excited.
Absolutely. Me too. I would love for them to talk to you because I know that what an amazing program you have established. So, all right, well, we'll open it up. I believe that you should be able to drop questions in the chat or send them over to us as moderators. So you should be able to do that for us. So if anything has come up as a question for you, we'll leave it open a little bit here to see if anyone has questions. And if you also want to ask a question verbally, just let me know. And I can even, I don't know if you can come off mute yourself right now, but if you would like to, I'm more than happy to open your microphone up and let you ask a question if you have one.
I think there's a raise hand feature. So if you use that, then you can allow them to talk.
Okay, great. Right. Well, I know it's a lot to take in. I hope that a lot of your questions have been answered as we went along. Again, there are other stories linked to that to the slide deck. So when you have that, you'll be able to see that. Also, we have lots of information for state-specific questions if you were to have those. And so we're also happy to do that as well. I think I might have a question here. Oh, do I just use that email address to get started? Tammy, great question. Yes. If you want to get started, go ahead and send that an email over to that email address. And then someone that's specific for your state will reach out, connect with us, connect with Doane, and we'll be able to get started and answer any of your questions. I know that there is a question also I see about sort of when university programs start. So that's a great question. So we do have a cohort starting in the fall. Tim, I know we're about the third week or so into August. I think that's about where we are looking. So all of those programs are available starting then. So if you're interested in moving into the bachelor's degree, that is open. There's also a pathway for those of you that might want to start with those paraeducator courses, or if you're looking to do maybe a group of teacher leaders into that AI for educators, that also is available. I know that also is a fast turnaround. It's the end of the school year. So there's also a start in the spring. So we usually will start fall and spring. So August, January, usually our start times for that. So excellent. Stacy, I see our hand is raised. I think I just did that for you. Can you go ahead and ask your question?
Yeah, so I've heard a lot about like tuition supported and things like that, but we didn't really specifically talk about that, like
Yeah.
the cost, and I'm interested in that. So
Good question. I know it's a little hard with multiple states on the call because depending upon where folks are, what things are available. I can share with you some of the support structures that we've been able to engage with. So dependent upon your structures in your state, there are some creative ways. You heard some of our educators and our districts talk about being able to be moved into like a long-term sub type of a role at some point where they're able to offset part of that salary that they would have put in for a long full-time teacher with that long-term sub cost, and that difference from what they've allocated into a teacher role versus a long-term sub salary. There's a difference there in the salary. And so districts are able to take that yearly support that they would use and offset with that. We've also have worked with different states and counties and regional offices to connect with local workforce boards. If you're familiar with workforce funding, you may have heard it in some of those career pathways. Like I know here in my state, welding and electricians and technology have had workforce funds to upskill workers for decades now. That what funding is able to be tapped into by programs in education if they're like these, right? If they are that job embedded apprenticeship supported by district funding programs. I know you heard from Dr. Molesky from Waukegan Public Schools. They are one of my districts, and I know that in their state, they've been able to get more than 50% of the tuition cost for students reimbursed to the district every year. Also, all of our programs are Pell Grant eligible if they are bachelor's degrees. So we try to price them between those, a small district contribution each year, those workforce funding and other, creative fundings within your district, and then those Pell Grant eligibility to make it very low cost for everyone. So Stacey, I think to get those specifics for you, reaching out to the email address and then being able to look at your specific state and your district situation and what's available would be able to provide you that best information for the cost. So great question. And thank you for asking it. Yeah, definitely reach out, because I know, as soon as I will say this for everyone, if you're interested in an area where we are not already partnered, we do have district partners all across the United States. But in your area, if you happen to be new, that would be a phenomenal conversation to start now, even if you think, I probably can't get a cohort together until January. I don't know. We'd have to look at, teacher contracts. That's something to know, that our support from BloomBoard, you don't pay for us. You're just paying tuition with Doane. But what we're able to do is to support that process by setting up workforce, relationships to get you additional funding. We are able to start conversations. My role as a senior learning strategist is to help you think through what might be a memorandum of understanding that you might want to use with students to ask them, if you're committing to some tuition, to remain in your district afterwards and to be committed and to teach there for a certain amount of time. Almost all of our districts do that. We also can support you talking to your school board or talking to your union to think through contracts and how that looks like, with your current structures for tuition reimbursement and things like that. So definitely able to support you in those pieces that will impact funding for all of those things, right? So please reach out so we can even if you think it might be next school year or the year after, that you might be able to do that, starting those relationships, setting up pipelines, adjusting contract types of things to make this work for your district is something that we can definitely help you out with now to create. Our whole goal is for this to be something that's sustainable, that you can maintain as a district, that you can have a steady pipeline to fill some of those holes, that you can just continue to refill by the amazing people in your community. So awesome. Well, I know we are at time. Thank you so much for your questions and for being here today. I hope that Tim and I will see you on future calls as we get to talk a little bit more about this program and to learn more. And if there are things, if you're like, this sounds great, but actually our district needs this, you're also more than welcome to share that. As Tim mentioned, Doane is very interested in being innovative and being, addressing the current challenges that are there. And they would love the opportunity to do that. So have a wonderful rest of your day. I know this is the 90 days of May, because as educators, we need 90 days to get everything done that we need to do in May. So good luck at the end of the school year. Have a wonderful summer, and I hope we get to talk to you soon. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.